Okay, hello again. So in this video, we'd like to develop another Finch sensor project that involves the light sensors. So as we know, the light sensors on the Finch are these two holes right here in the top, and the Finch can basically be aware of how bright the lighting is around it. So we'll do something like this, just thinking of a project here we could do quickly together, is how about we write some Finch code that'll make the Finch sort of start moving around whenever it's in really bright light, but we'll keep it still whenever the light is kind of subdued or dark the way it is now. And so the way I'll do that is I'll just get going over here with my code, and I'll come up here with the green flag to get us started here. And I want the Finch to always behave like this. So I'll immediately get a forever block out. So the Finch will always sort of take on this behavior. But now, in order to get going with the light sensors, I have to sort of remind myself how the light sensors even work in the first place. And I can do that once again by, say, looking at the right light sensor. So continuing to refine the project, I'll even focus on just this right light sensor here. Say, hey, Finch, only start moving when you see bright light on your right sensor. You could do the left or both, but I'll leave that up to you. And so currently it looks like under the ambient sort of lighting conditions that I have right now, it looks like I'm at about a 15 or a 16 light level wise. And if I come in here with this flashlight then and sort of shine it over the light sensor here, you see that I can see the number going up quite high, something like 92, 93. And as I back off a bit, it goes into the 70s, maybe down into the 60s. But it seems like, what would be a safe threshold? Maybe something like around, let's say, 35. Because 14 in the ambient light's pretty low, below 35, and I sort of get above, but I can sort of hit the 40s and something. So yeah, I'll say that when the light level on this right sensor reaches above 35, then I'll get the Finch to start moving. And when it gets sort of less than 35 or into the darker ambient conditions, I'll have it stop. That's sort of what my logic will be. So again, I just pulled up this sensor once again, sort of to remind myself about how the numbers come in, and so I'm able to sort of work with the environment that my Finch is in at the moment. Everyone's numbers, if you repeated this project, would likely be different, but those are the ones that I'm kind of going to work with. So I'll just turn that off again. So what I'll do then is I'll take a different approach from the last video, and in particular I'll go into the controls here, and I'll use an if-then-else block. It'd be a good time to sort of introduce how that works. Because what the if-then-else allows me to do is ask a question. I can say, if something is true, then do what's in this mouth right here, and if it's not, or the else case, I'll do what's in this block. So I already know sort of how I want it to work, in that if I'm in sort of the bright light case here, I'll have the Finch move just one wheel. Maybe I'll put a 30 here on just the left wheel and nothing on the right wheel. So that way the left wheel will start spinning, the right wheel will stay still, and the Finch will sort of start going around like that when it hits light. And of course, and the alternative case here is I just want it to stop when it hits the else block here when it's dark. So let's pose that question now. So I would go up to the if block here. What do I want to ask? Well, I want to see again if this light level on the right sensor, turn the flashlight on, becomes greater than 35, as I sort of demonstrated. That's the question I'd like to ask here. So what I'll do is I'll go up into these operators here. You can see that there's a greater than block right here. I'm going to pull that in and drop it into my block right there. So basically the question I'm going to ask is, if something is bigger than something else, then turn on that left wheel, but if it's not, then just make the Finch stop. And of course the logic that I'm going for here is the something is of course that right light sensor. So I'm just going to pop that in right there. I'll say, if the right light sensor is greater than some value, and I think I sort of empirically figured out 35, right? Sort of did that together, 35, then I'll move the Finch. If not, I'll have it stop. And that actually is the full code. Okay, so I'm going to wait for the green flag, and just forever and ever and ever until I turn my computer off, I'm going to ask the question, hey, if the Finch right light sensor is giving a number bigger than 35, then start spinning that left wheel at 30 power. But if for some reason it drops below 35 or even is equal to 35, then just stop the Finch altogether. That's it. So I'm going to run it here. And so I just press the green flag, and of course nothing is happening right now. And I know it shouldn't be happening because the light level is less than 35. Okay, but as soon as I come in here with my flashlight, and fingers crossed this will work, there it goes, start spinning, remove the light, it stops. So my cable's kind of getting hung up again, but as long as I have that light on the Finch, it starts to spin. It's actually kind of fun to play around with. It goes, and then it stops. And of course this flashlight can be anything. And let's see what even happens if I put the Finch in the way of my desk lamp right here and sort of shine the desk lamp on the Finch, see if I can get that right sensor to go above. Yeah, I can get the right sensor to go above 35 there as well. So the Finch is taking on all kinds of funny behavior depending on how it goes, how the light level is. And just as I was doing this, it just occurred to me, maybe we could get it to spin the other way with exactly the same kind of logic. So what I'll do is I can drop in another big if then else here. And instead of the question I'll ask it, instead of the right one, I'll just ask for the left one, but everything else pretty much stays the same. And I'll say I'll use 35 again as my key threshold number right there. And if I go to more blocks, I'll say the left light level, I'll drop it in like that. I'll get the motion in here, but instead of driving the left wheel, I'll drive the right wheel. And of course, if none of that happens, I'll just want to stop the Finch. So now I should have sort of a bi-directional dancer because I'm looking for both the left and right light levels. So I just hit run on the green flag. So of course, we know that works. But now I can spin it the other way as well. So there you go. So I sort of have like a Finch now that can sort of dance around depending on the light level that I have. And some of the jerkiness that I saw was, I think, because of these move 0 zeros in here. So it'll immediately sort of turn it on if the right light level is greater than 35, but then when it hits the next block, if the left light level is not greater than 35, it's going to stop the Finch. So it definitely moves, but it's just a little more jerky. But that's sort of the fun thing about sensors, is sort of understanding how they work when you go. So I'm definitely getting one rotation that way. Let me move back so you can see it here. See, it's rotating one way, and if I go to the other light sensor, it goes the other way for sure. So that's pretty cool, just sensing light levels in the room.